Welcome to Yeshua Kids Garden. Hello and welcome to Yeshua Kids once again, and today we're here with yet another guest, and it's the protocol on this channel to allow our guests to first of all introduce themselves before we go into the matters of today. All right, so thank you for being on this program. Can you kindly introduce yourself? Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Otto Bonjona, known as OJ for short. I am the vision coordinator for the Seed Carriers Foundation. A foundation that is focused on raising the boy child the proper way that he should be raised. You know, we are focused on the boy child advocacy, helping the boy child navigate through his way onto becoming an adult and eventually to becoming a well-established, balanced, compassionate, and respectful man that is fit for the society. So that's basically what I am about. Thank you for having me once again.
All right. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction. So it's evident that you're tired today, and hopefully next time we catch you in good form. Okay. So today, as I'm sure you can, you, the audience, can figure out what we're going to be discussing today. He's a special person, we like to think, and I think we what we're going to discuss today is actually something that is important in our society. So today's topic is titled Raising the Nigerian Male Child. Obviously, we're looking at the positive aspects, what we can do positively to yield positive results on this note. Okay, so thank you again for your introduction, and we'll just go straight to the question. So for the first segment, we're going to be looking at some general questions and examining some cultural context. So the first question I have for you today is, how do traditional Nigerian cultural values specifically shape the upbringing of boys compared to girls?
Okay, a very dicey question right there, you know, but it's one that I'm excited about. The Nigerian culture, as beautiful as it is, of course, which borrows a root from the general African culture, which is mostly rooted in respect, respect for humanity, to a very large extent. I won't want to use an absolute term completely, but to a very large extent. Now, how does it shape the boy child as compared to the girl child? First of all, I would love us to come to take a step back and look at our tradition as Africans, as Nigerian. We are people that are mainly focused on men as the sole providers, basically. So culturally, Africa in general and Nigeria specifically, from where we've come as related to history, you know, see men as sole providers, you know, for the family, for the society, majorly, especially for their wives and children. But over time, we have evolved as a people. We have borrowed the Western culture to a very large extent, you know, and how it has shaped the boy child is in such a way that the boy child grows with the mentality that it's either I do it or nobody does it for me. It's either I come through for myself and my family or nobody does, which is a very good thing, I must say, because it unconsciously inspires this motivation for hard work, you know, putting in the necessary work, the drive to become self-sufficient without having to depend on a woman, quote unquote, talking about the wives now, or the sisters, or the mother. Now, you on the flip side, you look at the girl child. The girl child, before this era, the girl child wasn't even permitted or allowed to go to school in Nigeria, in most traditional cultures in Nigeria, because it is believed that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to get educated, you don't need a job, you just have to be cultured, you just have to be well-mannered, you just have to be beautiful, take care of yourself and all that. And then one El Shaddai, I would like to quote, who just show up from somewhere, who has been established, you know, to come and marry you. You know, and so that shaped a culture of our women not being mostly educated like they should have. But thank God that has changed as the years go by. We've seen like I did mention earlier, the Western culture has found a way into our culture as Nigerians, and our female are at the forefront now. I mean, look at someone like the late Dora Akunyili. Look at someone like currently Ibukun Awoshika, who is doing amazing as a female child, which is not something we used to see back in the days. And so the cultural interference in the raising or the structuring of the boy child is in such a way that it inspires us to become self-sufficient, hardworking, and knowing that the progress or the failure of it of our family solely depends on us. So basically, that is the standpoint of the role our culture as Nigerians have had to play in raising the boy child.
Okay, so thank you very much. I have just a quick question on some of the things you said. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because that's going to tie into the next question I have for you. You talked about borrowing the Western culture. So for you, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or would you say there's certain aspects that are good and there's certain aspects that are bad? What would you say as regards that? Because it's more so you're speaking in more so the positive light when it comes to this subject. So can you expound on that, please, and let us know what you think?
Yeah, sure. It's definitely a good thing, but of course, every good thing have everything have two sides to it. But I think the advantages are more, all right, because prior to this time, a typical educated Nigerian boy child or Nigerian man, they were beginning to look at getting the Western culture to a level, but not in totality. What I mean by that is they will marry a woman and expect the woman to act the Western way, which is also work. I am working, you're working, you contribute, I contribute. So it doesn't have to be a male thing completely and all of that. Then when it comes to domestication, when it comes to the role that is supposed to be shared, right? They will now want to establish the African tradition in that aspect, thereby being selective in the borrowing of the culture. But over time, there has been a lot of work.
Hey, look, these days, where economy just they fail. Come with Sapa way, no fit explain. You get brand where they sell, we go pay. We go pay, go pay, go hey, pay. Look, info, Leon Finfo, follow me, go, may we get money. Make you call your amigos, free membership, sign up quick, and no they carry body. If you buy, if you sell for this website, no commission, no cost for this website. One cool sellers, we go give you good price. And if you know like I'm gonna next guy. Hey, no middleman, we go try take your money to do your thing on a solo. If you find anything, if you shop buy for any location, where you there, so my manana. Distress sales. My manana. Distress sales. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net.
Everybody just they dance, they smile for here, man. Like see things they share for this website. Let me go check out this website, man.
By a lot of advocates, trying to strike the balance, and I'm really glad, I must say, that it is beginning to stabilize. The Western culture that we are borrowing does not override on our core values as Africans, as Nigerians, which is respect. All right, which is respect for the male figures, even though there are some stories or some movement in some subtle ways of faulty definition of feminism, which tends to play down on that good part of what we've borrowed. But over time, I have seen a lot of females also rise up to strike the balance and define feminism in the right light, the way it should be. And so, yes, it's a good thing that we are borrowing this culture because evolution is a going concern, basically. And of course, as a people, as Nigerians specifically, we are forward-moving people, we are forward-thinking people, and any culture that we see is enhancing the growth of the society we adopt them and we apply them in ways that are peculiar and relatable to our established culture. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay, so I might have some I would say disputes on that note, but not necessarily. I would like to not necessarily comment on that today, but I think because we this discussion I think is scheduled for a series of episodes. So I think within those times I will be opportune to ask you some questions on this subject in particular. I think we should be able to dive into some connected subjects. Okay, so let's put that to the side and let's more so transition. So picking up from that question I asked you also, it also correlates to what the next question I want to ask you. So that's the first aspect I just wanted to get out the way. And now the Western, when we think about Western, we more so think of the context of for many would say development or growth in advancement or some level of civilization, depending on how you choose to quantify it. So if you agree on that, now I want to ask you a question that borders along those lines, right? So what would you say are some key differences then between raising boys in urban versus rural Nigerian settings, which obviously we have a heightened presence of the culture when it comes to rural settlement? What would you say?
Oh, okay. I think you're asking the right person that question because I am a product of the rural area, basically. All right.
Okay.
I was born, bred, and raised in the corners of Abag local governments in Akwa Ibom State, South Nigeria. And of course, I did my preliminary education. I did my secondary education before finally stepping out, to see civilization, quote and unquote. And that's talking about stepping on the streets of Lagos after my secondary education. I would say the difference is clear. The difference is quite clear because a boy child that is raised in the rural area seems to be more resilient, seems to be more, I'm looking for the right adjective right now. It seems to be more hardworking. Yeah. It seems to develop a thicker skin for challenges. I must tell you, we have a lot of stamina because how do I know that? When I stepped out of my rural area into the urban, I had some interactions in workplace, with some of the boys that were raised in the urban areas, and the kind of challenges they cry about are what we chew like biscuits. Because I had a couple of us too at the workplace those early days that also came from the rural area. So raising the boy child in the rural areas, there are some disadvantages, I must say, because basic amenities, even till now in Nigeria, in some rural areas, are still not there. All right. But then we make do with what we have. We make do with what's available to us. We are just on survival mode, basically. We know we have to survive. We know we have to get it done because we are not looking at any savior coming from anywhere to do anything for us. Because in most cases, we don't even have government presence until it's time for election, unfortunately. Some of the basic amenities that we should have that should be provided by the government, it's not there. And so we have to provide those things for ourselves by whatever means, possible legally now. Legally speaking, it's important I note that. Okay. But you move to the rural area where they seem to have a lot of these things. And so their level of resilience is quite low compared to the boy child raised in the rural areas, And the kind of the way they handle challenges, the way the rural boys handle pressure is quite more it's more flexible, let me put it that way, than the way the boys in the urban area would. Any little pressure they crumble. And you easily hear I am tired from those set of people. And these are things that we've done and we are finished and we're like, what next? And somebody has not gone halfway and he's saying, I'm tired. So those are the basic differences. And I must say, I am glad I was raised the rural way.
Okay, now let me just you're going to have a tough one and with this question. So now you spoke about the I would say the presence of the I would say the foreign or Western influence, which is actually in fact being a good thing because it brings about some level of exposure. And now obviously I liken the question I asked you with regards to urban areas. Obviously has more of that presence of the Western or Western ideology or Western mindset. So let me ask you now. Now you're saying that you came from a world which actually taught you some degree of resilience and developing a thicker skin. So, what would you say is most essential to a development of a male child? Now, exposure versus thicker skin. So what would you say is best? Because obviously each of these aspects, like you said, on one as one part of the world, there's something lacking. On the other, we have this exposure, but we have some level of a lack of resilience relatively when compared to those raised in the rural area. So what would you say is the best when it comes, or the most essential attribute or trait when it comes to raising a male child?
Okay, beautiful, beautiful question. I will still be biased. Trust me, I'm not gonna have a tough one like you predicted. It's quite easy for me to pick. I will still pick resilience over exposure. You know why? Because if you are exposed and you've not built a thicker skin for challenges, which is it's a common denominator for both the rural and the urban areas. Challenges are the common, it's like a common ceiling for all of us, for those two set of people, you know. So experience, exposure versus resilience and thicker skin. I'll go for resilience. You know why? I give you an instance. I grew up in a mud house, basically. That's what my parents could afford, you know. And we were growing up, my parents were business people, you know, and we had people that had their parents or guardians or relative had some level of exposure, built a better house. They had a better house. They had zinc over their head. We had thatches over our own roof, you know, as our roof, yeah, coverage. But they had zinc, they had blocks. I had mud and thatches over my head, you know. And my parents were very happy people. I must say, peaceful and happy, hardworking. We always had food to eat. It wasn't a problem. We always had food to eat. Now, even in seasons where we never had, begging was not part of the thought that could ever cross our mind. But we had people living in a quote and unquote now better houses, better environment, gated compound, you know, blocked house, what you will call civilization in terms of shelter now, back over there in the village. But you know what? The little moment they run out of food stuff, they run to us. Yeah, they will run to our house. And my mom, my dad, they were quite generous people, you know. One thing they will not do, which I've come to appreciate, is they won't cook food and just keep around and say anybody. If you're coming around, at least the food stuff is there, prepare and eat, no problem, as much as you want, you know. And unfortunately, most of these people, most of these children from these homes never knew how to cook. And so I came out of that, stepped on the streets of Lagos, where civilization was at its peak as far as Nigeria is concerned, you know, and I was able to fit in within a very short time, you know, and I got the exposure. I blended in, of course, I had the basic education back home. And so communicating wasn't a problem for me. So I blended in very well. And then we got into the workspace. Challenges will arise. I will handle it. I will move on. And I didn't go through tertiary institution yet, but I will have people with BSc and master's degree falling back to us for solution to some of the things that is supposed to be their job description. So let me not drag this any further. So for me, if you have the resilience, if you have the ability to handle challenges, and you now get exposure on top of that, it's like icing on the cake. But if you get the exposure and you don't have the character, the resilience to handle life, trust me, you're going to crumble. And you will have to learn it at a later stage, you know, which is more like a misplaced priority. Something you should have done earlier in life, you're now doing it as an adult. It's harder.
Okay, so I
So
just
that
Yes, I totally agree with you. So let's just one question. I still want to. I have a series of questions. Like each point you're bringing in, I just want to really get your understanding on some certain intricacies. Would you say now? Obviously, we've come based on your convictions. You've agreed, or you stated that this is the best. So resilience first, and hence obviously would you be recommending such an environment that can actually create that resilience? Okay, so now I would say that you lived and based on the, I would say, like you said, in quotes, right, the financial standing of your parents and what they could provide. They didn't lack the bare minimum as regards providing food and housing for you. They'll be able to give you those basic things. It might not be as the standard as those who lived elsewhere, but would you say that aspect actually forced some level of resilience, because you had to be resilient given the condition, you had to understand, you had to be reasonable, right? So now my question is, now for people who are looking to adopt this atmosphere, not necessarily the I would say the financial standing aspect of that environment, how would you say we can, those living in other areas that are more developed and are seeking to find solutions to a child that maybe might be presenting some level of traits that is not promising, or something that can tend to be against the child's well-being in the future, is it possible to recreate that, artificially recreate that atmosphere that would teach resilience to the level you experienced as a child growing up?
Very possible. It's very possible. It's very, very possible. And that is the responsibility of the parents. That is the sole responsibility of the parents. But the unfortunate thing here is that you cannot offer more than you have. You can't offer what you don't have. I'm saying that to say that we have more passive parents, unfortunately, nowadays than active parents. We have parents who shift responsibilities to schools, teachers, maids, drivers, than taking those responsibilities themselves for their children. And so for that set of parents, this topic will not apply to them, because they don't even have the time to be involved in their children's life. Talk more of being intentional to create an atmosphere that will allow these children grow. Now, fortunately, thankfully, we have some sets of parents that are very intentional in raising a balanced child or balanced children, who allows children to be children, who allows children to figure out things while they are watching on the sideline. And when they know these children have exhausted, they have gotten to their limit, they now step in. For instance, a child is coming home with homework from school, and you're just collecting the homework and you're solving the whole thing and writing it out for go and have your lunch, Junior, go and sleep, Junior this, and then the following morning, the guy doesn't even know what happened with his homework. He's running back to school to submit and get the highest score and come back. And at the end of the term, we produce academically sound people, but character-wise, very weak people.
I think one could argue that they're not technically academically sound if they were assisted throughout their lives.
Well,
okay, go ahead. Sorry, I had to interject.
Yeah, I get that. It takes a level of intentionality to be able to create this balance. You are urbanized, you are well-to-do, you have the financial ability to give your children the best of life, which is a good thing. I wouldn't say because I didn't have it, it is wrong for others to have it. No. I would be a killjoy to do that, and I'm not. So it's a very good thing, but we need parents that are more intentional to know that, especially for the boy child. You are raising somebody that is going to lead others. I don't know how parents miss that point with the boy child. You're raising a leader. Whether this leader occupies an official office or not, he's going to lead his home.
Would you say?
And so you see.
So sorry to interject. On that note, would you say that because there seems to be a lot of focus as regards organization internationally on the female child or the girl child, so to say, would you say that we have our priorities misplaced on that note?
Now this is very dicey. I'm going to be very careful with my words now. I won't completely say priority misplaced. I would just say being too extreme on one side, tilting towards a particular side, the female side, extremely. Because there's supposed to be some form of balance. I understand the position of a lot of these people doing a whole lot of things for the girl child. They are the weaker vessel. They are supposed to be treated with care. They are delicate beings and all of that. I get all of that. I understand. But we should also understand that this is one of the words I say very often. You'll catch me saying this 1,000,001 times in places that needs to hear, that needs these words to be said. The girl child that is educated and trained and polished at the expense of the boy child would end up with a man who sees her as a reason why he didn't get the opportunity to be trained. And what does that give birth to? Vengefulness, bitterness. And so we see a lot of things go on in society, like people, the boy child, Yahoo boys, quote and unquote now, using the female counterpart for whatever it is they do, cutting body parts and doing all of that. Most of them are born out of bitterness. They are seeing the girl child as the reason why they are being neglected. They are seeing the girl child as the reason why they have not been given the attention they are supposed to get. Because, for instance, I will chip this in. In our organization, one of the core questions I ask the male folks that are volunteering with us is, when you started having wet dreams, who knew about it? 95% of the answers I get is none. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. Personally, nobody knew. It was just my fellows in school, my fellow students in school that I was close to. We shared deep stuff, and these were people with no idea of what this is about. We don't know what we are dealing with right now, and we don't have parents who can tell us what we are dealing with and how to navigate. And so a lot of people, a lot of my folks back then navigated, of course, ended up on the wrong side of life. But thank God for our parents who, despite the fact that they didn't know about this thing, but they had instilled core Christian values in us that guided our behaviors, even while dealing with the unknown. But on the girl child, it's not the same. By the time a girl child gets to a certain stage and puberty is knocking on the door, the parent is watching like a hawk. And so on the very first day, the very first week she started having her menstrual experience, the mom is there everywhere, guiding, guarding, making sure that first she stays hygienically maximum, hygienically speaking, she's at the top level so that no body odor doesn't come out, and then she doesn't have questions that nobody is ready to answer. She gets all the attention as compared to the boy child. So again, I won't say it's a misplaced priority like you chose to use, but I would say that internationally, people and organizations are just being extreme with the provision for the girl child at the expense of the boy child, forgetting that this polished and trained girl child will still end up with a boy child that was neglected as a husband, and there are a lot.
Where economy just they fail. Come with Sapa way no fit explain. You get brand where they sell we go pay. We go pay, go pay, go pay. Hey, look, info, Leon Finfo. Follow me, go, may we get money. Make you call your amigos. Free membership, sign up quick and no they carry body. If you buy, if you sell for this website, no commission, no cost for this website. But cool sellers, we go give you good price. And if you know like I'm go the next guy. Hey, no middleman, we go try take your money to do your thing on a solo. If you find anything, if you sharply buy for any location, where you there so. My manana, distress sales. My manana, distress sales. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress.
Everybody just they dance, they smile for here, man. Be like, see things they share for this website. Let me go check out this website, man.
A lot of dangers to that.
Okay, so I have another dicey question for you. Would you, because now you spoke about organizations and obviously the focus, and obviously we know when this thing started, and also this I would say this level of orientation started. It was moved. This was oriented in schools and in institutions, and in certain certain orphanages. This orientation was really pushed. There was a lot of investment. Would you say, like you spoke about extremity, and you also mentioned the notion of balance? So there's a notion of imbalance because there's there's extremity on one end, and it seems like the other end, it seems to be suffering, not even getting just enough to be able to compete with the other. And when I say compete, that's for lack of a better word. So it's not a notion of competition itself. So would you say that, because could this be just a coincidence, or is it an orchestration to destabilize the order of family? Because this is not the first time we're hearing this issue of what is going on between the male and the female gender. And as you mentioned, there's some kind of resentment which might not be necessarily understood, but it might just be subconscious and psychological, that has been instilled, that is provoking certain actions on the part of the boys. So would you say, because the level and the intensity, while leaving and abandoning, I would say, the other party, would you say that is there's an intentional act to change the divine order, understanding, as you said, there's a need to focus on the leader, because eventually the leader would have to guide? So what would you say? Would you say there's an intentionality? It seems more so, based on when we look at it, it seems orchestrated to some sense. I mean, I'm speculatively speaking. What would you say?
I like the fact that you brought in the word speculation to that. I am a very unique person, and I like to see things from different perspective. And I like to make excuses for people a lot. I don't have the facts and the figures to say that it's an intentional orchestration, right? So I would rather think that based on what I mentioned earlier about the girl child being delicate, being a weaker vessel and all, of the people that started this movement, in their sheer innocence, thinking that they are offering helping hands to the female folks, to the weaker vessels, to the delicate beings, trusting that the boys are strong, we are resilient, we can handle stuff, we can take care of ourselves. In their innocence, or in doing what they started doing up until now, they didn't realize when all of this blew out of proportion. They didn't realize. And like we have in religious settings, there are some religious leaders who has taught some kind of doctrines for a while in their lives, taught a certain congregation about certain things, and along the line they found a higher revelation about that doctrine. And they try to change, they try to preach the new revelation they have got to their congregation. Majority of them still holds on to the previous one they have had, because they've already been indoctrinated. One of the hardest things for human race to do is change, even though we say change is constant. We don't easily embrace change. And it's inherent in humans. And so that's why I said, in the innocence of the pioneers of this movement for the girl child, I want to believe that at some point, some advocates for the boys, must have reasoned, even female. We have some females volunteering with us in our organization. And the reason why they come in is that they have seen so many half-baked men out there in the society, and they feel like if they knew better, they would have done better. And that's the reason they want to volunteer with us to contribute to correcting all of that in society. And so I want to believe that some set of these people that started this movement must have found a reason to say, oh, maybe we are too extreme. Let's retrace our steps. Let's do it better. Let's strike a balance. But of course, there are others that have already been indoctrinated. The alpha females who believe the world should revolve around the female and all of that. And so it's quite a hard work to do now. But someone has got to do it, which is part of the reason why we do what we do. Because we understand that leadership is male.
Okay, it seems, I think one of the things you mentioned, it seems like it's as a matter of what you stated. So from what you said, you have people who were originally of part of the, I would say, the extreme angle of the movement for the girl child, and have come to a realization of the importance of focus on the head as well. I would say the male child as well. And so I think we're more so realization as a result of consequence for those who are willing and thoughtful enough to see and make that change. I would say that's what we're experiencing, or based on your elaboration, that seems to be what is happening or has happened to those females you spoke about who have joined the movement towards rectifying the situation at hand. Okay, I just want to quickly touch upon, like I told you, opening this discussion, this is a multi-part series, and I want to move on to the last portion or last question for today, and before we wrap it up, and we'll schedule another episode to continue on along these lines. So my last question for you is, how has the influence of Western culture and education changed parenting approaches for Nigerian boys? So we've touched on this, I would say we scratched on this, but I would like for you to go into detail.
Oh, okay. I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that Western involvement in our continent generally has been a mix of good and bad, but mostly the good. Mostly the good part of it. The traditional way of raising the boy child, educating the boy child, going by history in Africa and Nigeria specifically, has been go to school, get educated, get good grades, come back, get a job. Get a job. That was the initial concept of education, and that's why it was mainly focused on the boy child, because some of the professions, in fact, up until now, the female folks are still having a lot of trouble breaking into some professions in Nigeria. Example, architect. Example, engineering.
STEM fields, in essence.
But if you look at the West, in their culture, they don't have a problem with having some level of equality in these fields. But here is Western education coming to interrupt our long-standing African culture. And so it's been a lot of struggle, for the female folks. But let's focus on the boy child now. How has this influence, benefited the boy child? If I must rephrase the question, in their way to navigating life, to becoming a man, and all of that, it has helped in a lot of ways. Personally, I have never been a fan of 9 to 5. I have never been a fan of a white collar job. I've never been the office setting kind of person. I've always been entrepreneurial in my thinking. And so right from my school days, I've always known. In fact, it got to a point where I just said to myself, if for any reason I find myself on a desk, on a chair, in any office, I might just be useless to myself and the organization employing me eventually, because I'm not wired that way. So Western culture has helped the boy child with identity crisis. It has developed a lot of ways, a lot of factors, a lot of routes for the boy child to go through in identifying themselves, what they are about, what makes them tick, their inherent inclinations, and how to best apply them. Because the traditional African culture and Nigerian culture, specifically, allowed the parents to choose profession, to choose direction for the boy child. But Western education has brought some form of, I would say, self-liberation, for the boy child. Because through the educational route, you can get to see and identify what makes you you. What makes you think, what makes you unique, what unique value you have to offer humanity. And then the educational process helps you to process those things and refine them, and it becomes something that is beneficial to both you, your immediate family, and society at large. So there are lots of benefits that comes with the interference of Western culture in our Nigerian setting.
Okay, so I would thank you so much, and so on. I think we're going to wrap it up here. But I just want to just quickly comment, and unfortunately, you might not be able to respond to that. But personally, based on what you said, I guess I think culture evolves, mindset evolves, and way of thinking evolves over time. And when we think about what followed us post-colonial times, you would find that the slaves actually wanted to level up, or it was a way of escape for them to be able to level up. I'm sure that's why they probably geared their children towards those professions that were known to be associated with the elite status, and that has followed us through time. So I think this exposure to other alternative means is that has also come with an evolution in the thinking of society and the influence of probably the society itself and other external society. So I think I would like to we'll touch on that the next time, and probably I'm just quickly rushing my words, but I'm sure we're going to dive into that in more detail. So if you have anything to say, just in 1 minute, let's make that 30 seconds. If you can just leave a small message to the young men out there and to the parents out there, and what would be the nugget for today or the advice on this subject? Just real quick. Thank you.
Okay, I would restate what I said earlier, that the girl child that is developed, polished, trained, packaged, and sent into the society, if such energy is not also channeled to the boy child, that jewel, that processed girl child will still end up with a boy child that was neglected. That a man is made out of that boy child that was neglected. And you will continue to have this cry of quote and unquote, men has come, which has come to be the phrase for many females. So I would say that we are on a mission to raise men, to raise compassionate men, to raise men that will be secure enough to pass the mic to the female without feeling threatened. And so let's join hands.
Yeah, my name is Taruwar of Yashar Kids Garden. Okay, my name is Taruwar, the cool one. Yeah, I said it. I'm the cool one. Yeah. Okay, so just kidding, by the way. Gotta be humble here. Okay, so now my name is Taruwar, and I'm the guy with the announcements, the informations, and the reminders. So, speaking of reminders, if you are yet to subscribe to all our platforms, subscribe to us and follow us on TikTok at YasharKidsGarden.ykg, Instagram, Yashar Kids Garden, and lastly, on YouTube. Come on, you want to take a guess? You sure Kids Garden as well. Okay, so follow us on all these platforms. It's really that easy. This way, you never miss out on anything. So come on now, it's just a button. Click it. Click the subscribe. Click the follow. Come on now. Click it. Click it. Click it. Come on, click it. Alright, so now the announcements. In some time and over a period of time, we will be organizing some quiz which you will have the chance to participate in. Alright, so now what will the quizzes be based on? It will be based on what we've learned so far. I will be the host and I will be asking the questions based on all we have treated in the past. So, people with the correct answers will be selected at random for a gift or cash prize, which will be issued by our sponsor for today. So, just before we introduce you to our sponsor, in case you would like to join our community, WhatsApp to be precise, or follow our channel on WhatsApp as well, the link is in the description. Come on now. Be with the cool team. Yeah. The cool team. Okay. Now, back to our sponsor. So, now, who is our sponsor? Who is that awesome entity? Or what is that awesome entity that is helping us out? Or that is showing us the great support that we need to make this show a success. So, now let's get to it. Our sponsor for today, and our primary sponsor in all, is DistressSales.net, a platform where you can buy distress sales items. Also, sell, of course. And you know what? Sign up is free. Who does that if not DistressSales.net? So, join in today, join their platform, and actually see and sell, view, and buy. Okay, distress sales items, okay? So, check it out, okay? So, just to give you an idea of what they do, their advert will be right on the side over here. And I'm just gonna be here, keeping quiet. Right on the side here will be their advert. That way you understand what they're really all about. Okay. Alright, so I'll be on the side.
Hey, look, these days, where economy just they fail. Come with Sapa way, no fit explain. You get brand where they sell, we go pay. We go pay, go pay, go pay. Hey, look, info, Leon Finfo, follow me, go, may we get money. Make you call your amigos, free membership, sign up quick, and no they carry body. If you buy, if you sell for this website, no commission, no cost for this website. But cool sellers, we go give you good price. And if you know like I'm go the next guy. Hey, no middleman, we go try take your money, they do your thing on a solo. If you find anything, if you sharply buy for any location, where you there, so my manana, distress sales. My manana, distress sales. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net.
Everybody just they dance, they smile for here, man. Like say things they share for this website. Maybe go check out this website, man.